Good morning, everybody. Welcome to Making It Real. Hi, Corey.
Hi, Tim.
How you doing this morning?
Doing great this morning.
Excellent. Nothing. It's always a great Tuesday, right? Because we have staff meeting, which is always exciting.
And we get to be in person and see each other.
That's very true. You kind of took that for granted before COVID.
Yeah, a lot of Zooms.
A lot of Zooms. In fact, Zoom tonight, right?
Right. The Connecticut Council for Religious Understanding is holding an anti-racism workshop, and we did get a spot in that. So a group of whoever's interested can come to the church here and be involved on a Zoom workshop. And it's a 9-part series, and it looks really interesting. They're going to cover a lot of different aspects of starting from slavery up until what I was really interested in maybe some ideas of how to move forward.
Yeah. And I know that we've had our anti-racism group that has been working on racial reconciliation. There's been about 15. So on a good day, we've had 15 people. And they did a lot of work last summer. Well, no, actually a year ago last summer.
Right.
And it carried into right about
January.
And then we paused for a little bit. And then we've been trying to recharge on making sure that we as a community are working on racial reconciliation. So this is an opportunity. And it's going to be Tuesdays, right? 7 to 9?
Tuesdays, 7 to 9. And I think they're taking a break the week of Thanksgiving, taking that week off.
Okay. All right. Well, this is one of the topics I do want us to address in one of our podcasts when we get a little bit more into this training opportunity.
That would be good.
But for those of you who are watching, and those of you who may watch the recorded version, Tuesday night starts tonight, 7 o'clock. Come join us here at the church. We will be watching, we will be connecting with the rest of the larger community via Zoom, but we will be here at the church from 7 to 9. Anybody's welcome to participate in that. And as your rector, I should say, I hope you will. I'm strongly encouraging you to do so. It's an excellent opportunity for us. So today, guess what, Corey? Guess what time of year it is?
Well, the leaves are changing.
Yep.
The days are getting shorter.
Yep.
A little crispness in the air.
Nope. Actually, unfortunately, I think it is. I mean, Halloween decorations are out, and we know what comes next, right? Briefly Thanksgiving, and then, of course, Christmas. And I was just reminded the other day that we're like 60 days, probably less now, from our Christmas bazaar. So for those of you who are bakers, Peggy Stanwood's going to be looking for you because we're going to have our bazaar again this year, and we're going to have our cookies by the pound.
Very exciting.
Yes, and just what we all need, some poundage of cookies. But what else is it this time of year? What do we all love and anticipate when we get to September and we're pushing into October?
Well, I think you usually bring out the stewardship campaign.
Yes, you are on it. Stewardship campaign, folks. It's that time of year. Now, we've all been through the stewardship campaign. We all know that the stewardship campaign can be a challenge because we know it's that time when the church, and especially the church's leadership, appeals to people to consider their financial gift to the parish for the upcoming budget year. And so to just remind everybody, we are currently in the 2021 budget year. And our leadership has been doing a fine job having us go, even though it was a deficit budget year, things are moving along nicely. In fact, Ellen Swain, our treasurer, told me that she's sending out the quarterly reports on people's pledge activity. And in there's actually going to be an envelope if you'd like to give an additional gift above and beyond your pledge, because we have that deficit part of our budget. And the more we can chip away at that, the better off we'll be. Our Bazaar fundraiser helps chip away at some of that. So it's that time of year. It's the time where we talk about stewardship. Now, Corey, I'm not going to put you on the spot and ask you what you think the definition of stewardship is, but I will offer this. I believe stewardship is, while we focus on it intensely this time of year, I do want us to recognize that when we're called to be stewards, we are called to be caretakers as Christians. And our scriptures are full of places where we're led by God, led by the Holy Spirit, led and encouraged by Jesus to be caretakers of the world around us. And so when we do a stewardship campaign, we're really doing a campaign to ask people to recommit to their caretaking blessings that God has given them to be a caretaker of the world around them. So when we have a campaign and money comes in for our budget, we try to focus our budget on the reality of God's call through Jesus's life, death, and resurrection to care for the world. And so I don't know about you, Corey, but that's a big responsibility because your paycheck, my paycheck, is part of the stewardship campaign. And so we are committing to being leaders of the caretaking process in the world. So with that said, Corey, I want you to be honest. I want you to tell me, when you think of the idea of stewardship and a stewardship campaign, what's the first thing that pops into your mind?
I think of the envelopes that
Yep.
that come, ready with your name on it. No, but I think it's a chance to reflect and think about the what giving is about, and how I can be generous in what I have to help the community here, and being with the community, and what you said, and going out into the world, and walking in the name of Jesus, and is generosity is giving things up, and trying to be generous and think about how lucky my family is that we can give of what we have.
Yeah.
And not even just all, from the checkbook either.
Absolutely.
It's
Absolutely.
really about giving of our time, and being in the community, and being together, and doing things to help others.
Yeah. And yes, I mean, the church is called to care for others. And that's one of our challenges, actually, because sometimes our stewardship gets so focused on our taking care of ourselves. We have a building to take care of. We have a property to take care of. We have a staff to pay. We have programs to run. So sometimes if a church, and I don't mean OSA, I think OSA is an amazingly giving community. But one of the things that happens, I think, within Christianity in general, sometimes we get so worried about making sure that our house is in order, which isn't a bad thing. But we might neglect our call to be caregivers of the world. So we have to balance both. And so we get to that time of year, yay, fall time, when we do our stewardship campaign, when we invite people to consider a gift of their finances to support their congregation and its ministries. We invite people to give some time to reflect on giving of their own talents, their own abilities, of what they can offer. I believe that as Paul talks to us, we all are a part of the body of Christ, and we all have a responsibility. So we are invited to live into that. And then, of course, time. And we know how precious time is. And let's be honest, a lot of people give time to a lot of things, And sometimes the church gets neglected in receiving the time of people. Sometimes we put other things far or more vastly in front of the church and our commitment to do its work. So, a challenge for all of us every time we get to the season of stewardship is to remember that we have to commit some of our time to
That's
what we
right.
do.
We have some interesting ministries here. I even on Sundays I see, we have all the people that behind the scenes get things ready. That
Yeah,
takes time,
absolutely.
and then they have to put them away. You have the wonderful people dedicated to music
Mhm.
and the choir, and that create this lovely atmosphere for us. There's so many things behind the scenes. Readers, yeah.
We have readers. We have people that help serve at the altar. Now, a lot of that stuff got put on hold because of COVID, but we're bringing it back.
It's great to see. It's great to see people wanting to be back and doing that and be a part of it.
And that's all part of the stewardship. That's all part of being caretakers. Well, one of the things that happens when we get to this time of the year, we are blessed with the opportunity to kind of come up with what's going to be our theme to live by for the upcoming year, for 2022. It's hard to believe. It's only a couple months away, 2022. And this year's theme, one of the things that we are blessed with, I'm going to try to hold this up for people to see on the camera. One of the things that we are blessed to be a part of is a group called TENS.org, and that is the Episcopal Network for Stewardship. And the diocese has a membership within that. And as a parish within the diocese, we are able to access the resources to help run our campaign. And we've done that for the last, I think 3 years for sure, where we get the username and password from the diocese, and we log in and we get access to a theme for the coming year. And this year's theme is called Every Perfect Gift. I don't know how well we can see that, but this year is going to be Every Perfect Gift, and it is grounded in a text from James, which we've studied for 5 weeks this summer moving into the fall. Every generous act of giving with every perfect gift is from above, says James chapter 1. And that's a beautiful thing. As Christians, we reflect on how God is giving us our ability to be generous, our ability to strive for that perfect gift, our ability to be caretakers. And so one of the reasons we gather every Sunday is gracious God, please bless all of us here that we may be a perfect gift for the world. So with that said, I'm going to ask you, Corey, I'm going to put you on the spot. What is the best gift you have ever received? And you don't need to get all churchy on us.
No.
If there's what is the best gift you've ever received?
My children.
Ah, yes. Yeah, exactly. Gift from God.
Yeah.
And how great is it that with such a gift like that, you not only get to be a caregiver, but you also get to work with your children and your spouse to be a home that is caregiving, which from what I know of your family, you all do that wonderfully.
Oh, well, thank you.
So, so tell me a little bit about what is it you love about that best gift you've ever received, your children? Just share an insight.
Well, I think they always surprise me, and they start out these little things that you have to take care of, and they grow into these people that have wonderful thoughts and are so generous and caring, and it's just amazing to see how something can grow and develop and be a part of this world.
Exactly. And I would second that. Everything you said, I will see with my kids, and I see with my family, with my wife, with my family around me. As you know, this week, my parents are in town, my mom and my stepdad, and we went and did whale watching. together as a family. Amazing experience. Just very, very powerful. And so I like to think of our invitation from God to be the church is that. One of the things that I miss about not having everybody back yet is very similar to what you say about how your children surprise you. And as they're growing and developing, I find that's true for the church community, that we can surprise one another in beautiful ways. We can also surprise each other in bad ways.
Well,
we're all human.
Yeah. My kids can do that too.
But I find that there's so many more amazing ways that I'm like, wow. An example, when we were dealing with moving towards the summertime with the backpack program and also dealing with COVID, one of the big challenges is that like kids weren't taking a backpack from school home.
Right.
So we were concerned, and that how are these kids that are hungry going to get food? And Bob Gresham and Carolyn Gresham came up with this idea. Well, why don't we, and I know working with you, they came up with this idea of why don't we deliver the backpacks? And initially, I think the backpack program, because that was outside the box of how we normally do it, was a little like, whoa, but I think that was a gift.
I do too. I think it was a wonderful gift of the generosity of thinking, why can't we do something?
Exactly.
And coming up with a solution and doing it.
Yeah. And loved it. A beautiful surprise to see that it was able to work. We reached out to families, got their permission to deliver the food to their homes. And, started out with a small number, but the number grew a little bit. And we're going to, even with the backpack program coming back in somewhat of its original way, with still dealing with some COVID changes, we're still going to have the opportunity to deliver those packages.
That's already started back up, and it's great.
And that's Christmas like every week.
It is, yeah.
And so I was Every Perfect Gift, our theme for this year. I was reading a little bit of the material, and one of the things that the resource says in describing Every Perfect Gift talks about gifts that people have received. And it says, what did these perfect gifts give me aside from the pleasure of the possession? They each taught me about living in the moment.
Yeah, I think a lot of us don't take the time to be present. Just, it's the little things. It's not, we think about the big, we're going to spend time or do something, you plan ahead. But I think if you break it down your day and think about just being where you are at that time, there's going to be surprises and things all around you that are happening.
And you're going to live in the moment. And that makes me think about my parents being here. They drove out here in their car. They have this little thing that hangs from their rearview mirror. It's a little phrase. It's got 3 little chimes on it, like a wind chime, but it's very subtle. But you hear it in the car when they're driving. You make a turn and it rings a little bit. And I'm paraphrasing. I can't get exactly what it says, but at some level it says, the gift of life is the journey itself. Sometimes I think we have this mentality as humans of, well, if I could just get to this, then life will be perfect.
Yeah. Or when we get on vacation, or we'll all spend time together then, or do something.
Yeah.
Yeah. Or if we're talking about money, when we save up enough, we're going to do something.
Yeah.
And
then something happens, maybe disrupts that, or we achieve it, but then we go, okay, I'm here. What next? And that's why I think it's important for us to recognize that living in the moment is, I think, one of the greatest gifts God can give us. Now, where that becomes a challenge is some people living in their moment right now, it's a hellacious moment. It's a difficult moment. It's a challenging moment. It's a suffering moment. And so I believe part of our moment as the church is our call to bring better moments in the sharing of life that we can have with people who are suffering, not fix the suffering. Because I think sometimes churches get a little paternalistic in their, well, we'll come in and help save the day, which can actually be very disrespectful to where a person's at. But joining somebody where they are in their journey and walking with them, and if they are suffering and struggling or hurting, walk with them in that journey to help alleviate that pain, to help alleviate that suffering, to bring good news to the poor, as Jesus says. And I think that we're not only called to live into our moment, but we're called to live into the we moment, which is us as the church. And, and so I like this idea, this theme. They each taught me about living in the moment, appreciating what I had, whether it was long afternoons playing secret agent in the backyard with my best friend and our walkie-talkies, or singular moments like listening to the sound of the current of a river on a quiet summer afternoon with my father. This is the relationship between receiving and generosity, and it's a pattern that once it takes root in us, continues in perpetuity. The more we practice generosity, the more abundance we recognize around us. For me, that's the phrase of the fall.
I love it. Well, we had a theme once with the church school kids where it was about passing on a smile.
Ah, yes.
And the simple act of just smile. And I guess it's hard now with masks, but and maybe there's another way to pass that on. But it was, just smiling at someone and getting a smile back. It just makes you feel better, but you're passing that on to someone. And I think that whole concept of passing on positive.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, yeah. I mean, I just love that phrase. The more we practice generosity, the more abundance we recognize around us. And that, I think, is an important phrase, because one of the things COVID has taught me personally is how much I've taken for granted, and how much that the first world life I live, pretty comfortable, how much I have taken for granted. And it's easy to take for granted, oh, my church community's there. Oh, I've got communion every week. Oh, maybe today I just don't feel like going to church. There are people dying literally for the opportunity to worship the way they would like to. COVID has taught us a lot about what we've taken for granted. I mean, I can only speak for myself, but I think that this whole thing of COVID has reminded me of what it means to practice generosity and discover, even in the face of a pandemic, the abundance that's around us, the caregiving that people have done for each other in the midst of COVID, recognizing where we haven't cared and been a selfish nation or a selfish community or selfish individuals, and how we need to correct that. So I have to admit that as a priest, sometimes stewardship time rolls around and I'm like, oh boy, here we go. People are going to love me because I got to ask for money. But this year I'm really feeling different about it, because I've recognized what I've taken for granted, that, we can have a stewardship campaign every year and be ready to go for the budget year next year. I can't take that for granted anymore. I got to live in the moment. So, so we're going to try some new things this year. The first thing we're going to do is, as kind of a forerunner, to use a little Advent language, John the Baptist, the forerunner of the Messiah, Jesus, we are going to do something a little bit different, in that we are going to start having some town hall sessions like we did with the music program. We're going to have stewardship town halls, and I'm going to work with the vestry to lead groups, 8 to 10 people. We're going to meet at the church, and we are going to discuss right with one another what these budget things are about. What are these ministries we have? What have we taken for granted? And what do we need to work on to improve our living in the moment?
That would be great to involve. I think a lot of the times, the congregation has presented the budget, and it really is, not totally understandable, or what's happening. Why is this here? Why isn't this something here? So getting people involved, I think, is a great idea, and discussing.
Yes. And we learned that, being fruitful about this, we learned that in our conversation with the music program. People did not realize that we've had to cut things out of the budget that pertain to our music, the ministry of our music, because it was too much of a challenge in trying to come up with some sort of balanced budget. So we've had to cut things. And people literally in those meetings said, I had no idea that that's the way that worked. I had no idea what section leaders do in a choir. I had no idea how the funding happened with that. And that gave me the idea that we need to do that about stewardship, where we can review the ministries we have and recognize the importance of each one of them. And within that, I'm going to invite people to spend some time reflecting on, what does it mean to give a certain percentage of my financial life to an organization that I cherish, like the church? And we're not going to tell people a percentage. We're not going to say you should give this much. But what I want to do in these town hall gatherings is say, what would it look like if we funded our ministries with this kind of number? Just to kind of playfully live into the moment and say, here's a potential for us. This is something maybe we could achieve. Or maybe give us the opportunity to say, that's not what we want to achieve. We want to do something different. So we're gonna play around with that. Of course, whenever we talk numbers, it'll be anonymous. Nobody's going to have to, bring their tax return and show the group gathered, hey, this is what this is what I make and this is what I'm getting. Not planning to do that. We're just simply planning to have a conversation with each other. And then once we've had those forerunner conversations, John the Baptist style, then we will spend some time, probably 3 or 4 weeks, of actually focusing on our Every Perfect Gift campaign, and invite people, after they've had some time in the town hall meetings and prayerfully reflecting, to consider what their gift may be for this year. Thoughts on that? You've heard a little bit of it in staff meetings, but thoughts?
Well, I welcome the opportunity to get more involved in thinking about what is important at OSA. And I'd also like to see maybe people pledging their time.
Absolutely.
About the different ministries. I'm very passionate about some of the ministries we do here, and I feel like that is just as important as the monetary gift that we're able to give to caretake for our community, for our building, and for the things that we do.
Mm-hmm. It's tough to lead a ministry like the backpack program and have 3 people show up when things could run better if you had like 10 people.
Right.
So for those of you who are listening and those who are going to listen when you hear the recording of this, we can't stress enough. And again, Corey, I think this is something that we were able to, I know I was doing for sure, that it's easy to take for granted, is the offering of our time. When that was just literally taken away from us in a week's moment. One Sunday we're here worshiping, the next Sunday we're not here at all. It shook us.
It did, and it was hard to adjust for everyone. And like you said, a lot of people are still feeling, having it not in great places because of it.
Mm-hmm.
So I think we should consider that too.
Absolutely. And along with the stewardship, when we think about time, we're going to have to think about our time and how we use it alongside of our resources. For example, we have this wonderful campus, we have this wonderful building, and there are many days it sits empty or just with people just in the office. How can we be faithful stewards, caregivers of using what we have as a resource so that other people can live into their gifts and ministries? So, how could the parish hall become more widely used within the community? How could, I like to think of churches as community centers.
Right,
How
right. And our bike ministry
could,
and the thoughts
exactly.
of enhancing that and going out into the community and connecting with the community via the bikes and the path that's right here.
Exactly. One of the things we've been kicking around with the vestry, which don't panic, folks. We eventually once the plan is finalized, is share it again in some town halls with the congregation, is this notion of creating a bike rental center here at Old St. Andrews, where somebody could park their car, rent a bike. And by rent a bike, I mean, maybe have a code to push in, use the bike in the community and have fun with family, friends, and then bring the bike back, put it in its little locked area, and go about one's day. Again, living into the moment and giving other people the opportunity to live into the moment. So I think I think God is presenting us with some great opportunities
Agreed.
and is inspiring us to do some amazing things. And we can't take it for granted. So, it looks like I may have some comments here. Let's hope they're not comments that the microphones weren't working and we couldn't be heard. Vivette says, good morning, everyone. Vivette, it's good to see you online. Glad you're joining in with us. Shirley Murtha, she says Murtha here, which is definitely her code for she's watching. Shirley, I hope you had a great vacation. It's good to see that you're back and with us online this morning. It's great to see these comments. And, folks, as we always say, and I'm going to bring this up here for you as a little banner below, if you would like to share with us your thoughts, give us ideas, raise concerns about something that we have shared, or challenge us to something, we're open to it. That's why I'm putting up my email and Corey's email. So osarector.com, Corey at AOL.com. We love to hear your perspective. Even if you don't agree with it, we love to hear it because it opens us up to other things. It challenges us. It makes us think, makes us prayerfully reflect on who we are as a community. I also want to say, and hopefully you've had a minute to write down the email, I also want to put up here I've got to put in a plug for the ability to support the ministries at OSA. We have a wonderful website. That is one of Corey's jobs. She has the responsibility of overseeing the website and our communications and a lot of our technology stuff. If you'd like to give a donation to the church in support of ministries, you can go to oldstandrewschurch.org. Up in the top right corner is a give button. You can do your donation right there online. You don't even have to leave the comfort of your favorite chair. You can go right in there. Corey's done an amazing job getting that set up for us. And we're also in the throes of working on our podcast link there. So you'll be able to not only see the video podcast, but maybe even hear the audio version too. So we're working on that. Sometimes these things require, pulling out a book and learning about how some of this works. So all of that said, I want to just say a tremendous thank you to all of you who are joining us for this, both live stream. Marianne Allen Coward, a nice little heart sent to us. Thank you. I'm glad that you're able to see us on Facebook and join into our conversation. So don't forget, folks, starting this month, rolling into next month, it's stewardship time. And our theme this year is every perfect gift. I'm hoping that you will start prayerfully considering your gift and how you would like to support the community of OSA and the ministries we do. That's the final word I have. Corey, anything else you'd like to add?
Just remember tonight, if you're able to make it to our workshop on racial recognition, we'd love for you to join us.
Absolutely. 7 o'clock to 9 o'clock. We will be here. I will be here tonight. Corey won't be. She's got another engagement, but she plans to be here for the other ones. We're going to have 9 Tuesdays where we gather and we work on seeking racial reconciliation. I really hope to see a lot of you here joining with me tonight. All right, friends, have a blessed rest of your week. Corey, thanks for joining here again.
Thanks for having me.
Always a blessing to have you here. I hope that you all can enjoy this day and enjoy your week, and may God's blessings be with you. We'll see you next time on Making It Real.